Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Sol y Punto. Today we are in a village of Málaga called Alhaurín de la Torre. And it's a beautiful village here in the coast of Spain. And we are going to see an installation of crochet, which is absolutely beautiful. And I'm really excited to share it with you guys. So come on. Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of a voiceover translation for these interviews. So if you prefer to listen to the Spanish version, just head over to the other video. And we're going to start off by talking with Eva Pacheco, who is the woman who organized this whole amazing art installation of a sunshade here in her town, Alhaurín de la Torre. So we're going to talk to her and get to know a little bit her story. So first I asked her about her fiber story and where this all started. And she told me that she used to work as a security officer and the nights were really long. So she started doing cross stitch and crochet and just like different things that could keep her hands busy as she was on these like long night shifts. So I asked Eva about the location and where we are right now, because I always think it's interesting to know about the geography and the climate and the location of where an artist is located and how that affects their craft. And she told me that we are in Alhaurín de la Torre, which is a little bit difficult for me to pronounce. Alhaurín is actually from an Arabic word because we are in the south of Spain, in Andalucía, in Málaga. And this town is about 10 kilometers from the airport and 10 kilometers from the sea, so the Mediterranean Sea. So it's a beautiful location. And we talk about how the village is just full of flowers and gardens. And she tells me that there's a beautiful park called the Park of the Ducks, of the Patos, Parque de los Patos. And yeah, she says it's a lovely place to live. So I asked her how this idea came about. When did she decide to make a sunshade for the village? And she told me that about 3 years ago, the local government had an idea to create crochet classes in the retirement center of the town. And they previously had been putting like plastic sunshades up because it gets very hot here in Andalucía in the summer. But she said that the plastic, it just gave this like greenhouse effect and it was like really hot. So they thought, oh wow, well that would be a cool idea to be able to make a crochet sunshade for the street. And so yeah, she started to work giving classes with the idea of creating this project. Another important part of the project is that all of the yarn that is used is either recycled or donated by people. And so they're giving this an aspect of sustainability, which is important for the environment and the village, and I think it's a great idea. I asked her about the knitting community in Alhaurín and if there are lots of crafters around there, and she said that there are a lot, but really only a small group of ladies are the ones who participated in creating this project. And so it's amazing to see how much work they have done in such a small group of women. There's a few that are missing from today that weren't able to attend our meetup, but she said only a few more, a handful more of crocheters, and they were the ones who did everything. Eva tells us that when they started 3 years ago, there's only like 7 or 8 of them, and they created something in just 3 months. 3 months before the summer season, and got it up there. But she said that it was like really thin, and the mayor didn't actually like it. So, but they saw that so many people were interested in the project, and the people in the town were so excited about it. So then little by little, the mayor warmed up to it. And so the following year, they worked for 9 months and were able to make it so much bigger and so much more beautiful. And now it is just the hit of the town. So I asked Eva if she had any advice for people who might want to do the same thing in their own village, and she just said, just start, get a group together. She told me that lots of villages actually have started doing the same thing. In La Línea de Concepción in Cádiz, which is another like coastal town in another part of the south of Spain, had done the same thing, and they actually called her to help with like hanging everything up, because it's a lot of work to hang everything up and to get it all up there. So they called her, but she said that in that village they had 78 crocheters working on the project, and she said that if they had any extra that they could send some of those crocheters to her. So she said that lots of villages are getting excited about this project and also doing it. She said in Extremadura, which is where she's from. And I asked her how long she had been living in the town, and she said 13 years. But yeah, so other villages are also doing similar projects, and I think it's a great idea for any community to get together and do something like this. We started talking about how lovely it is to live in Alhaurín de la Torre and how she was living in Madrid. But they would come down there for vacations, to go to the beach and stuff, and she decided to make that her home. And she said like the quality of life is so nice because you're right near the sea and you also have the mountains right by, so it's a great place to live. So I asked Eva what was on the horizon for her and the girls of Alhaurín. And she told me that they're going to be in charge of making the village Christmas tree for Christmas. And they're going to be doing the Christmas decorations. And she also said that next summer they're going to have an extra street, another pedestrian walking street. And they will start working on those, and they've got a lot to do, so they got to start now. She said that probably by the middle of September they will take down the summer sunshade, and then in June they put it back up again, but obviously replacing anything that has been like worn down too much, maybe like it's fading because of the sun, obviously. And yeah, so they've got lots of things to do and lots of projects, and they're excited about what is to come. So it was lovely to speak with Eva, and now we're going to talk with some of the other ladies. Okay, so here I am talking with Anna, and I asked her how did she get involved with this project. And she told me that she saw a post on Facebook about this group that was meeting in the retirement center of their village, and they were meeting up once a week to knit and to crochet, and so she joined in, and she mentioned that during the pandemic, obviously, they were not meeting in person, but they were connected, and everyone was working at their house to make lots of crochet squares and things for the project. So I asked Anna which of the sections or segments was hers, and she points out a few in the back. And she tells us that in previous years she had done the name of the village, Alhaurín de la Torre, but this year they changed it for a new one because after a couple of years with being out all summer in the heat of the sun, like the projects start to get a lot of wear on them and all those UV rays. And so they go replacing segments that are wearing down. She talks about a specific wool, a tapestry wool, that her segments a few years ago were made from, and she said that was too heavy. So they had to take that down and replace it with other, but mainly most of the crochet segments and squares and flowers and everything is made with acrylic yarn, which is better for these types of outdoor projects. Anna tells me how the experience of getting together each week with the other ladies and solving each other's doubts and helping each other and explaining about how to do different things is really helpful and really nice. And she loves the experience and being part of this group. And I mentioned how it would be so nice to do something similar in my own city. And I think it would be nice in any city to have these types of meetups and to create something really cool for the community. So now we get a chance to talk with Luisa. And I asked Luisa how long she had been crocheting for. Is this something that she had been doing all of her life? And she told me that just 2 years. 2 years ago she learned to work with the yarn and the needles. I asked her if just crochet or also knitting, and she told me that she can do a little bit of knitting, maybe just knits and purls, but she prefers crochet because she feels like knitting hurts her back, the posture that she has to take to knit. So she prefers to do crochet because it's like a lot easier and the posture is better for her. And Luisa also tells us how she loves the experience of getting together with the other crafters and just like talking about life and talking about whatever. And it's just so nice to spend the time with other people sharing in such a lovely project and making things with your hands and just chatting about whatever comes up. So I asked Luisa to tell us which of the segments were hers, and she pointed out one, which was this beautiful star, another, which was yellow and blue, which is the flag of the village, Alhaurín de la Torre, and the other one, which was a project that looked very much like knitting, but it was actually crochet. So I asked Luisa if she was originally from the village or not. And she told me that no, she's actually from the capital city, Málaga, but she had been living in the village for 16 years. And we were commenting on how beautiful all of the vegetation and flowers and gardens. It was just such a floral city. And she told me, yes, any like living house or apartment that they build, they make a huge garden alongside, and that's something really important to the village. And I love how colorful it all is. And Sarah, our lovely camera girl, asks Luisa if she decided to get into crochet because of this group project or with this group, and Luisa says that she learned how to do crochet when she was in primary school, you know, the basic stuff. She said she made a poncho, maybe a scarf here and there. But then when she found out that her son was going to be a father to a little girl, she started again. And then getting back with this group, getting to crochet with other people is when she really started to be a lifestyle crocheter. So now I get the chance to speak with Belén, and she tells us that she really doesn't know much about crochet. She also only started 2 years ago. She had some basic ideas about just like regular crochet stitches and stuff, but she said she had no idea how to make flowers or anything elaborate like what you see in this beautiful sunshade. And her friend said, why don't you sign up for the crochet class that they have? And so she did, and she loved how great the little community was and how they could ask each other questions and get to know each other and learn about different crochet techniques, especially with their teacher Eva, who helped them with everything and taught so many new things about the craft. And she really, really enjoyed it. She said that obviously once the pandemic came, they were at home and really just talking virtually. But now that things are getting better, they're meeting up again, and she really loves it. So she tells us how much she really loves the social aspect of getting together with her group of crochet friends every week, and she talks about how crocheting is something that has brought her a lot of calm and relaxation to her life. She says that she just picks up her crochet hook and it just brings her a lot of peace. And she said that when she's watching TV or something, she needs to have her hands doing something. It helps her to think and to process things that are going on in life. And she says that she is the type of knitter or crocheter. I always say crochet knit. She's the type of crocheter that if she messes something up, she will go back and fix that stitch. I told her that I'm not that type of knitter, that I'll just keep going. But she said, no, if there's a stitch that is not okay, I will go back and fix it. And so she says she doesn't crochet a lot of things and really fast, but what she makes is quality work. So now we get to speak with Carmen, and I asked Carmen how long she had been crocheting, and she told me just 2 years. So it's amazing. All these ladies have learned to crochet just 2 years ago, and look what they have created. So you don't need to be crocheting all your life to be able to make something this beautiful. And she says that she signed up because she wanted to have some kind of activity. This is all part of the local government, and they have created like classes for the retired folk of the town. And she was part of this group. So I asked her about the response of everyone else in the town and what the people think, and she said that the people love it, and she said that every year people say it gets more and more beautiful, which is true. And people like it because it has a function. It gives shade and it makes the center of the town such a more enjoyable place to be in the hot summer months, full of color, bright and cheery. And she said that now they're going to start incorporating other streets, and the goal is just to cover the whole town in crochet. That's the goal. So she tells us that she lives on a pedestrian street, and they're talking with the local government to see if they can also put up the sunshades there, or maybe they might do it in the town square. But they've got lots of ideas to move around different parts of the village. And she also talked about the process of hanging everything up, and she said that the guys who do it have been learning every year, but it's really difficult because they use like zip ties, and so like every square, like blanket square, they connect to the other. And she said it's difficult because you want to get them all like the same distance from each other and make everything even. And she says it's really hard because it's also June and very hot, and you have to be up on these ladders trying to put everything together. But they're learning every year more and more, and she says that it's great. It's such a fun like joint effort amongst all the people of the town. So now Sarah asks Carmen how long it takes to make each one of the squares. And so she says, well, the little squares that make up the whole blanket, or the bigger square, maybe you can make 2 or 3 a day depending on how much time you spend doing it, but it is definitely a labor of love. And so that is it, the end of our conversation with all of these lovely ladies from Alhaurín de la Torre. I just wanted to give a very special thanks to Kristy Glass, who is the wonderful person who pointed out this crochet marvelousness here very close to where I live in the south of Spain, and gave me the heads up. So thanks, Kristy. And also thank you so much to Eva and all of the ladies. It was so nice to get to know them and just to see this wonderful project that was done by a handful of women in a little town here. And what a beautiful town. Just gorgeous, right near the foothills of the mountains and near the sea, full of gardens and beautiful people. Such an upbeat atmosphere. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you to you all for watching, and we'll be back soon for another episode of Sol y Punto. So see you soon. Happy knitting.